Among the Hebrew names given to God in the Old Testament that give us a glimpse of who he is and what he's capable of, there is the name Jehovah Elyon. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. In the Old Testament story of the travels of Abraham to that promised land where God said, well, I will show you where you're going, he has some exciting experiences. At one point in their journey, Lot, his nephew, has separated from Uncle Abraham, and he's living among those in Sodom and Gomorrah. And at one point, 4 great kings, including guys like Kedorlaomer or Tidal, the king of nations, came out in battle against Sodom and Gomorrah, and they took many of them captive, including Lot's family and all of his possessions. Of course, when Abraham heard this, he felt the need to rescue his family members. So he went and defeated those kings and took the spoils of the battle and all of Lot's family and their goods and came back with all that the foreign kings had taken away from them. Upon his arrival, by the way, or his return, Abraham meets up with Melchizedek. He is known as the high priest of that day or that area. And he is offering him a tithe of all of these spoils. First time the Bible really mentions any kind of tithe, but he gave back to him 10% of all that God had blessed him with from that land. So Melchizedek calls out to Abraham with this blessing. In Genesis chapter 14 and verse 19, he said, "Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." This is the use of that Hebrew name, Jehovah Elyon, the God Most High. Now you see, in that day, the nations would always give their own God credit for any kind of victory that they had in battle. They would say it was because their God was with them. And of course, if they lost the battle, then they had to recognize the other nation's God as being greater in this instance. So when Melchizedek calls out the name Jehovah Elyon, he means the Most High God. It was an indication that his people had defeated all these other kings. Now, you know the rest of the story, right, about Abraham? You see, Abraham didn't really have an army that was trained and equipped and ready for battle. In Genesis chapter 22 and verse 14, it simply says that Abraham took 300 of his choice servants into this battle. Against these kings with hundreds of men in their armies, Abraham takes 318 trained servants. That's why Melchizedek here has recognized God as Jehovah Elyon, the Most High God. Now, we shouldn't even have to read this passage in order to consider that God is the Most High. When all the other nations around are touting their deity as being more powerful, we know that our God is the most powerful God of the universe. He is the sovereign God of this world. But then perhaps there are those times when we question God's authority in our own life. Or maybe we question God's ability to overcome the hurdles that we face in our own life. Now, as Jehovah Elyon, he has to be seen as the Most High God over anything else that we face in this world. He also must be seen as the Most High God in my life, in my heart. Maybe sometimes there are other things or other powers that are vying for that kind of supremacy with me. And I need to recognize he is the Most High God. And I have to determine and testify, just as Melchizedek did to Abraham, God is Jehovah Elyon, the Most High God of the universe.